Reading from Affirmations for Self-Healing. This morning is on success. True success means transcendence. It means finding what we really want, which is not outward things, but inner peace of mind, self-understanding, and above all, the joy of God. Outward success means transcendence also. It means rising above past accomplishments to reach new levels of achievement. Success can mean accepting failure too, when such acceptance helps us to transcend a false ambition. Every failure, moreover, can be a stepping stone to highest achievement. Success should not be measured by the things accomplished, but by our increasing understanding, ability, and closeness to God. Let's affirm together. I leave behind me both my failures and accomplishments.
I leave behind me both my failures and accomplishments.
What I do today will create a new and better future. Filled with inner joy. I leave behind me both my failures and accomplishments. What I do today will create a new and better future. Filled with inner joy. I leave behind me both my failures and accomplishments. What I do today will create a new and better future. Filled with inner joy. And whispering, I leave behind me both my failures and accomplishments. What I do today will create a new and better future. Filled with inner joy. And silently, I leave behind me both my failures and accomplishments. What I do today will create a new and better future, filled with inner joy. And a prayer, O Creator of galaxies and countless blazing stars, the power of the very universe is thine. May I reflect that power in the little mirror of my life and consciousness.
Welcome to our Sunday Satsang. This is a reading from Whispers from Eternity, a book of prayers and poems by Paramahansa Yogananda. With every stroke of my prayer, I move nearer to Thee. Father, swimming in the sea of my craving for Thee, I find myself beaten by the winds of severe trials, floating on cresting waves of pleasure and pain, then sinking down into the depths of indifference. I still keep looking for Thy shoreless shore. With every stroke of my powerful prayer, I move closer to Thee. Never shall I give up. Thou myself, I know, Thou Thyself, I know, dost look for my coming. This is another reading from The New Path, My Life with Paramahansa Yogananda by Swami Kriyananda. This is from the chapter on reincarnation. A boatload of fishermen in Encinitas had had a bad day. After hours of work and very little to show for it, they were ready to go home. Paramahansa Yogananda happened to be strolling on the beach when they brought their boat in. Are you giving up? He inquired. Yeah, they replied despondently, no fish. Why don't you try just once more, the master suggested. Something in the tone of his voice made them heed his advice. Going out once more, they got a large haul. And thus was added another puzzling item to the growing legend in the local community of Encinitas about the strange, kindly Swami, around whom things seem somehow always to happen for the best. To me, this story, which I heard indirectly from some of the townsfolk there, illustrates a basic truth of human life, one that Master often emphasized. No matter how many times a person fails, he need never accept failure as destiny's final judgment on him. We have a right, as children of the infinite, he said, to God's infinite bounty. Failure is never God's will for us. It is merely a temporary condition we impose on ourselves through some flaw in our attunement with cosmic law. By repeated efforts to succeed, we gradually refine that attunement. Try just once more, Master said. If our basic intentions are spiritually lawful, failure simply means we haven't yet succeeded. Life, in other words, gives us our failures as stepping stones to success. In the case of those fishermen, Master's blessings proved a necessary aid, in the sense that they helped tune those men's efforts more quickly to what they were already on the way to accomplish. Had the men themselves not been ready for such a blessing, he would not have given it, which is another way of saying they would not have attracted it. The sensitivity with which one tries just once more, rather than the mere act of repetition, is the real key to success. There are some people who succeed quickly, whereas others struggle unsuccessfully for years. Attunement is the secret. Genius depends far more on attunement than on hard work or intellectual brilliance. And of all existing sorts of attunement, the highest is to be aware of God's power acting through us. And it's such an important topic, because those fishermen, there are two aspects to the story really, but the fishermen are just everyday people like us out there doing their job and going out again and again and failing, seemingly failing, but not giving up really, but just going out and finally getting so discouraged that they just come back and they were going to put the boat away and not do anything. But there was the Master seeing them from the beach and just saying, try once more, don't give up, never give up. The only failure is not trying once more. That was the message of the Guru. And his kindliness, his sweetness, his generosity of spirit for these souls that he was just passing on the beach. And he cared so deeply for them that he performed a miracle. That's the love of the Guru. And that's who we have to attune ourselves to when we are going through our life and feeling sometimes like failures. Maybe even in material ways. Maybe the relationships aren't working out. Maybe the boss and the job isn't working out. It isn't what you thought it would be. Maybe the salary isn't growing like you really wanted it to. Maybe the weather's bad. Maybe your teenage son or daughter is not the same sweet little angel they were when they were 6, and now they're starting to challenge you, and you just react in a way that you're not proud of. Maybe we're always looking outside of ourselves for the things that aren't working. But actually those are the greatest blessings in our lives, because they're forcing us to go inside. They're forcing us to attune ourselves to the love of the Guru, who's watching us from the beach, from afar, in every single situation of our lives. There is no moment when the Guru is not with us. No moment. God is there, and he is watching us. And when we reach up, he's there. His hand reaches down, and he pulls us through. And then we are successful. And really, what this reading said, the most important success isn't that everything's finally working out on this plane. Isn't that you finally get the great fish in the boat, the great catch, and everything works out. No, the greatest success is that your love for God is growing every moment, every day, every month, every year in your life. And that comes from attunement to the Guru. You know, things in life are not so easy. And when you take a step onto the spiritual path, your successes and failures to you seem huge. And the world will not condone what you're doing when you step onto the spiritual path. Trust me, I know. I've been through it. My family, they just don't understand. They just think, what are you doing with your life? My family, I have lots of brothers and sisters. They're all successful. They have houses and jobs and successful children, and they're healthy and beautiful and all this. And they look at me and they say, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing? What are you doing in India with, scant resources, living on God, living on the trusting God, and kind of ephemeral, and you can't really tell us, well, where does your success come from? And they start kind of pulling me away, like, you're not getting any younger, you better start thinking about security, what about your daughter? All of these thoughts, they're throwing them at us. And I'm clinging to the Guru, and I will never let go. And I'm steadfast in my ambition to find God in this lifetime. I will never let go, because I remember what I felt like when I didn't have God, and I didn't know to seek Him, and I didn't know the Guru, and I didn't know there was help. I remember what I felt like. I was absolutely empty inside, although things were going fine. Things were going fine. But I was empty inside. And so then, through many, many years of seeking and calling to God and crying out to God, He finally showed me the way to this path. He finally showed me the way to the Guru. So the failures in our lives are not anything that we should be afraid of. We should glorify our lives. This is the life we've been given. This is the life in which we are going to find God. We can wait and wait and wait for another life when it's all perfect. It will never be perfect, I promise you. This world is meant to deceive you. So don't be deceived into thinking that it's going to bring you the lasting happiness that you want. It won't. It simply won't. Whenever you're just about to grasp it, it dissolves. And look at your life and see. But when you're up against the world, and you're up against your relatives, and you're up against this force that is saying, you're crazy, you better get with the program, you have to be very strong in your attunement to God. You have to be very strong in your love for God. There was a dream that St. Teresa, the little flower, had. It's very beautiful. Sometimes we just feel like we're alone, because that support system that we had relied on isn't there, and we're just alone. We're just kind of, whoa, where am I going? But she had a dream, and it was this long staircase in the dream. And at the top of the staircase was Jesus Christ. And He was in bliss, with His compassionate face full of love. His heart was open. And there was this little tiny baby at the bottom of the staircase. And the little tiny baby was just learning to walk, and was just putting one foot up on the first step and then missing it. And then one foot up on the step and missing it. And one foot up on the step and missing it. Never really giving up, just trying to get onto that first step. And finally, when the baby was just ready to sit down in a pool of tears because it wasn't working, Christ ran down the stairs and picked the baby up and took the baby up to heaven. And this was a dream that St. Teresa of Lisieux had, a little flower. And it's so touching, that image. When I read that, I was so comforted, because I thought, no matter how far away we think we are from God, no matter how we're struggling, He will be there. But He's telling us, keep going, keep trying, never give up. Your success will come in your tenaciousness. Your success will come in your love for God. So when everything in this world is just, it's getting darker and darker. I have to say, it's getting, this Maya is, they're throwing everything they can at us now. But there's two things I wanted to say. The other day, just yesterday, I was reading the news and getting kind of depressed, just heavy. I was just depressed when I stopped reading the news, so I thought, well, this isn't helping, because there's this thought in our mind, well, we have to know what's going on so we can be aware. Well, this was dragging my consciousness down. This was not making me aware, this was making me unconscious and worried and, oh my gosh, and fearful. So I just got up and I went and I pulled out the book, The Essence of Self-Realization, and I opened it up and I read from that book. Honestly, this really happened. In 1 minute of reading that book, my whole consciousness was shifted. I was just overcome with joy. My heart opened. I could feel the Master coming through that book saying, it's okay, Roma, you can't solve the problems of the world. You're going to be fine. Then I went back. Something told me to go back to my iPhone. And in the midst of all this darkness, I turned on the WhatsApp. And there's this picture of this famous cricketer. What's his name? Virat. And cradling the autobiography of a yogi in his arms, and saying, this is my favorite book, and I admonish you all to read this book if you want to change your life. And I thought, yay, Master. Immediately I was healed. So even in the middle of all this darkness, there's Master peeking through. He is not leaving us alone. We are not alone in this world. It doesn't matter who's the president or what the currency is or how many wars are being started. There's Master peeking through on WhatsApp. Don't forget me. I'm right here. Do not buy into the delusion. I'm here, and I'll always be here. And hold on to my hand. So it was really inspiring. And then I was watching a video of Swami last night, and the title of the video was, what was the title of it? Devotion through Satsang. Devotion through Satsang. I recommend it if you want to go onto the internet and read it. But he was talking about how important environment is in keeping your consciousness up, and how Satsang helps your devotion, and your devotion will draw the right people into your lives to be able to uplift your consciousness and stay safe. And he was telling this joke, and it was about two brothers. So two brothers, one was really worldly and one was really spiritual. And they died, and the spiritual one went to heaven, and the other one went to the other place. And so they were connecting down the road, and the one that went to the other place said, well, what are you doing up there? What's it like up in heaven? And the spiritual man said, well, it's wonderful. You wake up in the morning, you meditate for a long time, there's chanting, then you go for a walk, and then you come back and meditate some more, and you pray, and you're with saints, you're with angels. It's just wonderful. And he said, what's going on down there? And he said, the guy from down there said, well, it's a lot more fun than what you're having, I'll tell you that. He said, there's bars and music and meat and wine and laughter and so many things that are really fun. He said, are you sure you made the right choice? And so that's it. No one's going to understand, because the world is so real. You can touch this Maya, and you can feel it, and you can sense it. It's everything through the senses, so it's real. So you think you have to make it perfect, and you want to immerse yourself in the world. And heaven's boring. Who wants to go to heaven and have such a boring life? But seeing this video of Swami, who lived in heaven in his consciousness and now is completely free, he said, you know, people think it's boring to live a spiritual life. It's not fun, it's not exciting. But he said, just the qualities of God, just the qualities of God. Think of love. He said, think of love. It's not just a little blip in your heart. You're connected to infinite love, unconditional love, love that you've never felt before, for exactly who you are, forevermore. No condemnation, no judgment, no criticism, complete acceptance of who you are as a soul. That's love beyond human. He said, think of wisdom, knowing all the time, having that inner guidance, knowing that you're connected to the Guru and he's telling you what to do. Knowing that. Every move you make, you're offering it back up and asking, and he comes and he tells you. He said, that's heaven. He said, living a spiritual life is heaven. You have energy, refined, subtle energy. You have bliss beyond compared. We hear these things, and you look around and then you hear them and you think, well, really? But it's true. And the saints have come back and they've told us about it. And now we have a God-realized master that is showing us the way, but not only showing us the way, He is guiding us, and as we attune ourselves to His love, He's drawing us to God. He's drawing us to that success that we're looking in our lives, that we're looking for in our lives. He's not leaving us alone. He's like walking on the beach every single moment. He's watching us, and He's there. Never let go of God. No matter what this world tells you, it's not going to be true. God is truth. God is real, and that's the truth of it. And also, never stop praying. Never stop praying for people who you love. Because I really feel it's our responsibility as spiritual souls to pray for those who Divine Mother wants us to pray for. Our children, our mothers, our fathers, people that are close to us, people that are at work. They need somebody that is aware, that is connected to God, to channel light into their lives. They need somebody to protect them in the light. Never stop praying for those you love. Never stop praying for your devotees, other devotees, your guru bhais. We need it. Everybody's struggling and trying as hard as we can. We're doing the best we can. You know, there's a story, Saint Anthony, not of Padua, but the first Saint Anthony that was in the desert. Not in the desert, but he was, no, Saint Augustine. I'm sorry, not Saint Anthony, Saint Augustine. Saint Augustine, he lived in northern Africa a long, long time ago. And he was a lawyer. And his whole life, he lived an extremely worldly life. Extremely worldly life. And his profession was called a rhetorician, which is a profession where all you do is debate people and try to bring them down. He would go to the courts and he would try to bring them down. You know, good or bad, it didn't matter. He had the gift of a verbal, it was like a weapon. And so he was very idolized in his time. And he lived a very worldly life. But he had a mother. He had a mother. Her name was Saint Monica. And Saint Monica was a Christian. This was in the very early Christian days. I think it was about 300 AD. They didn't even call themselves Christians yet. But she was following the teachings of Christ, and she had been touched by Christ. And she did, all of her life, she started spiritual communities, is what she did. She was a very saintly soul, but her dharma and her role in this life as she saw it, and the most important job that she had was to pray for her son. To pray, she never stopped giving up on her son. No matter how successful he became, no matter how cruel, no matter what he did. He wasn't a very good boy. He wrote a book. It's called Confessions, My Confessions. And when you read that book, you realize he was a real jerk before he found God. He wasn't nice at all. Very self-centered, very, going after his own happiness. But his mother, she prayed for him. She went on pilgrimages. She surrounded him in light. She never stopped praying for her son. And gradually, his life fell apart. He went inside, and he was touched by Divine Mother, and he became a saint also. But at the end of their life, it's so beautiful, the mother and the son, 3 days before she died, they were in their home in North Africa, and they both went into samadhi together. They both went into ecstasy. They both experienced the love of God together. And that was a wish that she had had. And that was answered. That prayer was answered. But she never gave up on her son. And I've always been so inspired by that story because we don't know. We think nothing's happening when we're praying. We think nothing's happening if we're living a spiritual life. I'm not going deep enough. But if you just every day get up, even if you don't feel like it, meditate in the morning, in the evening. Do your Kriya Yoga. Bring the energy up to the brain. Ask God to transform your consciousness. Call on the Guru. Read spiritual books. Listen to music. But never, ever give up. And as you become more and more aware of God's presence, then you become an instrument for that light. And when you become the instrument for that light, your ego is diminished and you become one with God. He can do whatever He wants through you. And it's very important to understand, it doesn't matter what the world thinks. It doesn't matter if you're successful outwardly. When you're successful inwardly, you know it. And you know that you will cling to the spiritual path and the Guru and God with every ounce of your energy and commitment all through your life. You'll never give up, because that inner joy begins to grow. And that knowing that God is within you, He has always been there. We can make a huge difference in this dark world right now if we can begin to see ourselves as channels for that light. You don't have to be psychic. You don't have to say, oh, come to me, I'm the great Guru, and I'll bless the world. No, it's an individual relationship with God. Develop that with your devotion, your prayer, your meditation, your service. Then He can come through. Because your ego will get in the way. Even the ego gets in the way of prayer and meditation. You can feel it coming in. It's not working. That's the ego. It is working. Because even the thought that you're having that it's not working means something's happening. And then you pray to God and you say, help me. And then you begin to feel that help. So don't worry so much about not being there yet, being a failure, not succeeding, not being perfect. Don't worry about those things. Only think of the Guru. The Guru's job is to free us. The Guru's job is to clean out the clouds of our mind and to take our karma. The Guru takes our karma. And that's what we need to really, really concentrate more on, is how the Guru is always right there. So never give up. And I wanted to close by saying this reading from the Bhagavad Gita. And this is the interpretation by Paramahansa Yogananda. And here's just one. This is Krishna. Absorb yourself in me. Be wholly devoted to me. Worship and bow to me alone. So shall you undoubtedly reach me. This I promise you faithfully, for you are dear to me. Forsaking all other dharmas, duties, remember me alone. I will free you from all sin, even from that of not fulfilling other lesser duties. Do not grieve. And so we need to concentrate more on that. Concentrate more on the Guru and God and the tomb, the light. Don't worry. Don't worry anymore. This world is run on fear. God is pure love. Concentrate on that pure love. So have a wonderful week, and